Welcome to Wild Cottage. This is Mimi. This is Chef, and my name is Susan. And I live here with my partner Tom in the west of Ireland in our cottage. And we're in the hills. We're in a tiny little valley in the hills in the west of Ireland in County Clare. And Mimi wants me to throw the stick, so hold on just a second. I try to put all the links below. If I forget anything, kindly leave a comment and let me know if there's something that you want me to tell you about that I forgot to put in the links. And yes, and I will try to do timestamps. And we are sat at the minute in the main natural dyes garden that we put together last year, 2021, with the very kind help of a grant from Hen Harrier Project in Ireland, which was wonderful. And hen harrier is one of Ireland's most endangered birds of prey, and we are lucky enough that we live in an area where there are hen harriers, so they had grants for small scale kind of craft projects. And in this dye garden, and there's a lot more dye plants all around that we've done as well. But Sandra of Meet the Wool and Irish Fibre Crafters, which is sort of a community co-op of crafters. There's a premises, sell craft goods and yarn, but also through Meet the Wool, she does Airbnb experiences and natural and dyeing. And one of the things you can do is you can come here to this garden and pick dye plants and naturally dye with them. And also she does workshops as well via Irish Fibre Crafters. So yeah, it's a lovely little community project, and it's all organic based. I grow a lot biodynamically, which is by the moon, which I tried out and found it's actually amazing, and it helps me organize my growing season. Anyways, but you're here for knitting probably, and some of you are interested in the natural dyeing and the flowers and all. So anyhow, so welcome back. If you're new, you're very welcome. If you're an older subscriber, thank you for coming back. I've been absent for many months, and I probably talk a little bit about that at the end. I'll do a little bit of life stuff, but we're just going to do some crafting now. Right. So I have, I think the last podcast I did was the end of February. So since then, I haven't done a whole ton of fancy knitting. Part of it was because of my hand, and I couldn't. But I have been doing something that's probably a little more interesting to most of you, and it's still a work in progress. But it's a lovely summer top, and the pattern is, oh dear, Sol y Yodo, which means like sun and sea or sun and iodine, by Nicole of Time Weaver, and she has a podcast. She is a American that lives in Spain. She's living in Spain for ages, and she does a podcast in English and she does one in Spanish. This is her pattern. It's really quite simple, which is what I needed for my brain. It's a little lace. There's a little very simple lace in it. It's the feather and fan stitch. And I am making mine out of a mini set that I got from Irish dyer Vera Yarns Designs. And I have one of her little postcards here with her information. I'm hoping that shows up. There we go. And she dyes out of Dublin. And I absolutely love her colors. And I love her yarns because I got several mini sets, and I've gotten some larger skeins, and I really like that she has 100% merino. So obviously it is superwash, but there's no nylon, so it's no good for doing socks. But for everything else, it's wonderful. And I've come to find over the past year, especially past year and a half, that I really don't like the feel of the nylon in the yarns for sock yarns. So aside from the fact I would like to avoid nylon as much as possible, just because we recycle a lot of things and we compost, and of course I could compost the wool part, but the nylon remains. So I'm not super duper happy about that, and so I'm looking for other alternatives for sock yarns and using mohair, etc. But that's another that's another story. But anyway, so the feel of this yarn, as well as the softness of merino, there's no nylon. So it just feels so much nicer on my hands. Yes, I see you. I love you. I love you. So here is the front. So it's knit, the front, the back, and then you do little panels to create the exact size you want. And do go check out the pattern. I'm pretty sure it's on Ravelry. I think she also has on her Ko-Fi account. I I can't remember. I'm sorry. I did this on the spur of the moment while it was nice, and I thought I'll do this. I forgot to check whether it's paid for or free. I think it's paid. I think it's a paid pattern. But anyhow, it's definitely worth it if you want something with a little bit of interest, but it's not hard and you can easily memorize the repeat. And it is just so lovely. And it's a good use for your mini skeins. So yes, there we go. There it is. And I've just got the front panel done, and I just have to, I think I have started on, get ready to start on just the sort of like, I think it's just a little garter stitch for the neckline. And then I'll do the back panel, and then I'll join them together for the size that I want. So very excited about this. So this is a work in progress. So I'm actually going to show you my works in progress first, because I only have two, and they're probably more exciting than what I've knit. Except for color-wise, I think what I've knit is really beautiful. But anyhow, okay, so I am picking back up what I call my Great Pumpkin Shawl, which is a Stephen West. I've forgotten the name of this pattern. Please excuse me. Yeah. Anyways, I have forgotten the name of the pattern at the minute. I was knitting it. I knit it several months ago when I was when my dad had the open heart surgery, and I went over and I helped take care of him for all those months, and I was knitting on it. And then I put it down, and I'm picking it back up now because it's just, I call it my Great Pumpkin Shawl because it is all sorts of oranges. And the yarn is from another Irish dyer that I really love her products as well, her colors, Fine Leaf Fibers. And she's in Cork. And I got this lovely set for a shawl set. Well, it's a trio, so you can obviously do whatever you want with it. And I believe it is, I believe it's, here we go. It's 87% wool, 13% Donegal Vissois. And so it's a fingering 400 meters and the 100 grams. And the set is called Blazing Heat. And it's a bit of a, so this is the one I've got going on now. And you can see there's this lovely blue fleck in it and the neps, the Donegal neps. And I was really thrilled that I found to hold it with that, this blue here that I got it's just a regular yarn shop. They have a couple Irish yarns, and they have some wool yarns, not a whole lot. They have mostly kind of like acrylic and cotton. It's a lovely little wool shop in, well, I shouldn't say wool, it's not mostly wool. Lovely little yarn shop outside of Galway City called Knitwits and Crafty Stitchers. I hope you can hear me. I forgot to check the sound. I didn't put my microphone on because I wanted you to get the sound of all the incredible bees, bumblebees, and other pollinators, hoverflies, everything. Can you? And then there are so many birds around, particularly the swallows. In the barn, we have 2 active nests with babies, and in the carport Tom built 3 years ago, there's another active nest in there. And we've already had 1 fledge out of the barn. Unfortunately, the first carport nest they built, a magpie or something got in there and pulled it down. So it was one they had built themselves. And there were chicks in it, and we were devastated. So we bought another you can buy these nest cups, and they're made like out of woodcrete. So we put that up for them. That's the 2 we have in the barn. We have 2 of those in the barn, and they've used those. So they immediately recognized the one in the carport, and they just took how they make, if it's a barn swallow. I think in the States you call them barn swallows. We just kind of call them swallows. But they make their nest out of like mud and feathers and bits of dried hay and grass and things. But it's a lot of mud. So they did a mud lining on the top of the woodcrete nest that we put up, and they've laid another batch, and there are little nestlings in there, and they're all cheeping away. So it's really sweet. I'll insert a little video of I zoomed in on two of the nests in the barn.
Mud nest that they built in there.
There's some in that one as well. They're bigger. Look at them. So the first batch they had in that nest. Now this is the second.
Clean it.
And that's the third. We'll have to clean them after they go away. Oh, look, this is so sweet. They're hot. God love them. That is really cute. And one of the nests in the barn is that they built this year themselves as well. So anyways, that was a digression. I might cut that out and put that in because not everyone is interested. So here, this is the yarn I found. I was thrilled to bits. I found this at Knit Wits and Crafty Stitchers. And just look at that. Like, how good is that, picking up that blue? Can you see that there? I'll cover try not to cover my face when I'm talking. I forgot that as well. So I hope that you could see that color is a perfect match for the little stitches here. I haven't started this again. Like, I literally finished a project last night that I want to show you, and now I'm going to start back on this. So I haven't even opened up the pattern. It's been months and months. So yeah. But this was Juniper Moon Farm, the Findlay. It's extra fine merino wool and mulberry silk blend, and it's a lace weight. So we've got 730 meters in the 100 grams. So it's 50-50 wool and silk. So yeah, so super excited about that. This is going to be a schlanket. I love schlankets, and excited to start on that Stephen West pattern again. I'll put it on the screen. Okay, so we will go on to what I finished. So I'll show you first off. So I finished a few things. Two are lovely shawls that are beautiful patterns, and I made them all out of Irish yarns. But I've gifted them away already. But what I'll do is, and I didn't take pictures really. Anyway, so I'll get the recipients to take a picture, and I will share about those on the next podcast because the patterns are lovely. One of the patterns was for a very good cause, and so I'll talk more about that and show you the pictures and talk about the yarn next podcast. So first thing I did when I was able to knit a little bit again was I have a new great niece. So her name is Isla May, and she was born a couple months ago. She was born in May, and I've just been very tardy about sending her gift. But I knit her a baby blanket, just very simple garter stitch. And this is an acrylic and wool mix. And I'm afraid I don't have the tag anymore because I wasn't podcasting, and I tidied my craft room, and I don't know where. I saved the tags, but I don't know where I put them. But this one I know. This is a colorway called Calliope. This is a 100% merino wool, hand dyed by Benta of Arctic Crafts in Norway. So I just did a simple squishy blanket. And yes, so this will join her big sister's Jimena's blanket that I made her when she was born. She'll be 2 in December. So they both have little hand knit blankets from me that they can, have a little picnic on when they're older with their, toys or whatever. So yes. So that will be going off to the US for my great niece. And so I did that. And then what I knit was Oh, I have a sad story. I have it. First, we'll come to that in a minute. Yeah. So I would like some advice with this sad knitting story. So I knit this amazing kind of cape shawl, which I'll talk about, and it gave me the idea to, I wanted to stitch it together to make a cape. So, but before I did that, I was knitting one out of DK yarns just for around the garden. And so this is an acrylic that I got at, I think at the Range, which is just like a kind of a chain store that is here in Ireland and the UK. And they have some craft things, and they have, yarn, which is, I think it's just a small yarn section. It's mostly acrylic. But I saw this colorway and I was like, ooh, because I was thinking about baby things and all. So I bought this yarn, and then I found I had at home, I had this Debbie Bliss that I'd gotten at Knitwits and Crafty Stitchers outside of Galway City. And it's the Debbie Bliss Rialto. And I have a few balls of this. It's extra fine merino superwash 100%, and there's 105 meters and the 50 grams. So I knit a triangle shawl out of 2 balls of this and sort of 1 and a bit balls of this. And so triangle, just really simple. So you just are doing the knit stitch, and then every other row you increase 1. So yeah, and that's very simple. And I did that, and then I just stitched up the back together just as an experiment. I just kind of used mattress stitch to join the two together, so that I could have sort of like a cape that wouldn't fall off of me. And when I'm sort of working in the garden when it's cool, it's like this. And I love the way the neck does this, and it just kind of covers me here. And of course you can, if you want to have more of the blue side, you can turn it around this way. You can do different ways that you want to wear it. But I was super pleased with that. I really liked it, because I tend to get warm, and so like a jumper, it's on and off, and this way you have more airflow. And so yeah, I thought that was a good idea, and you can wear a jumper under it. So this is for the cooler months, working out in the garden, and I can move around and stretch, and I don't feel constricted in any way. So I was so excited because my beautiful neon rainbow set that I had knit into this amazing shawl, every time I went out with it on, people were like, oh my gosh, that's so lovely. And a lot of times I was wearing it like the cape, but I was just, pinning it together. And so first off, I got a stain on it. And before I'd sewn it up or anything, let me start at the beginning. So in January, so I have not bought any yarn or any patterns since probably the beginning of February or January, because I decided I really just, I have loads and I'm working through what I have. But January, yourself, if you're here in the Northern Hemisphere after Christmas, January can be, for me, I am a total Christmas freak. I love Christmas. I love the feeling of excitement that many people get. I know it can be a hard season for people. I totally understand that. But, with the joy that children have, I don't know. I just feel like that's very contagious. And I love that. And I love giving presents and decorating. So after that, sometimes, and then January is a dark month and it's a cold month. So sometimes I would have a slump in January, and I do get this seasonal affective disorder. I need the sunlight. So I thought this year I'm going to treat myself to something I saw on Etsy. It was a neon rainbow set of minis. So 10-gram minis. There was one for each day. 31 of them. Now, I didn't buy them wrapped or anything like that, because it was cheaper if you didn't do that. So I just bought them all in one go and opened them all in one go. But they're so much fun, and they are by I Made It. This is the information on it. So it was 31. I don't know if you can see that. So anyways, it was the Neon New Year mini skein calendar. And there's on her platinum sock, which is 75 superwash merino, 25% nylon, 4-ply fingering. So it was 310 grams and just a little over 1,400 yards. So she's in the US, and I splurged and got this, and luckily I didn't get any customs on it, because customs, my father sent me a birthday gift. My birthday month was last month, and I got customs on it, because you can get customs even on a present, and it's about 25% of the value, including shipping. And then also you get customs, just like handling fee. So, yeah. So I was very lucky. So like, I just can't be, getting anything from the US or from the UK, because ouch. And I just knit it, like I said before, in a simple triangle shawl, bit by bit. So anyhow, so friends, this is the stain that would not come out. It's ink. It's actually ink. And there it is. And it's in this part that is just so, so obvious. So so first off, the way I did the yarns is I did the magic knot ball, because there were 31, right? I didn't want to weave in, 50, 100 million ends. And I watched the Crazy Sock ladies joining in the yarn video, and I did it that way. And also, I've been working on my Christmas half and half wrap from my advent calendar from Robin's Promise yarns that I showed on my 2021 Vlogmas. And I've been using the magic knot on that. So, which was great. Until I was just not thinking. And I put it on the wool wash in my washer, which is great. I mean, it's never been a problem. But I forgot to turn down the spin to 400. So the spin was on 800. And I'm guessing, you know where this is going, don't you? The spin was made the problem, because I have about 8 places where the yarn has come apart with my magic knot. So, out of, I guess, 31 joins or 30 joins, that's not too bad. I must have done those wrong somehow, not paying attention, but it's got all these holes in it. But look how beautiful it is. It's really lovely and large. It is so, so beautiful. It is so lovely. And I'm, in Ireland, we don't get too hot a lot of the time. So I've been able to, throw this over for a lot of the summer. But so what I was going to do is I was going to stitch it together, and, I could wear it like this again as a cape. And it was, well, I'm not doing a very good job of this. So it would be like really, well, anyway, really, just so lovely, and cover a whole lot of my arm. I mean, just, just a lovely year-round thing. But first I have to fix, look, and there's another one. So, and the problem is because what I've also learned from these experiences in knitting with the solid blue as well, that when I make mistakes, obviously it's really obvious on a solid just garter stitch. When I make sort of mistakes on my other types of yarn, you can't really see it, because there's, a lot of things going on. So I'm not certain. So when I can, does anyone have any suggestions? I think what I might do is, when I, try to fish them out, and I don't have any more of this yarn left because I used it all up, because I did a magic knot ball. Just try to tie them together again. It's probably going to look puckered, but maybe what I could do would be to, especially if I make it into a cape, so there will definitely be a right side and a wrong side, an inside side. I can maybe embroider little flowers on it or put little buttons, you know, but like, I don't know. Anyway, yeah, comments welcome on and helping me figure out what I should do with this dilemma, because this is, you know, I've got my beautiful natural grandmother oak shawl that I did 2 Vlogmases ago. That is probably my favorite shawl, and this is my other favorite shawl, except for what happened. Like, this is, you know, because the grandmother oak is all natural fibers, hand spun here in Ireland, some hand dyed by me. Most of them are the natural color of the wool, so it's all browns and taupes and, you know, kind of creams. And then this is the polar opposite, and I just love both of those kind of colors. So anyhow, yeah, right. So the other thing I got done was I wanted to make sort of like a bed jacket, but I didn't have the brain power to think about, you know, sleeves or anything. So I thought, well, I'll just make another kind of triangle shawl. But there, I mean, so I know that's not interesting really for you guys, but I'm hoping that wool will be. This is Irish spun at Cushendale Woolen Mills. It's their boucle. So it's it's wool and mohair, but it's mostly wool. I don't believe I forgot. I forgot to bring the tag out. Information in the drop down, and in the 3 colors. And then I held it together. I also had some of that Juniper Moon Findlay in pink, and I held it together with that. So this is the boucle, is kind of like a DK, and then of course we have the lace weight. There we go, we can see it here, the colors. So I held them together, and so we have this lovely soft fluffy, I did do just a little knit 2 together and, you know, yarn over to make a little lacy thing there, but then I didn't do it again. And so yeah, so it was 200 grams in each ball, sorry, and I had the 3 balls. This one I just got tired of eating it because I get tired with just the same solid colors. I get bored, so I cut this a little short, but it's still really lovely. It's so soft, so it'll be really nice for you know, if I'm sitting in bed knitting and I just get a little chilly on here, but I don't want to have a longer top on because then when I sleep I get hot. Isn't that lovely there, like that? And it's so soft. Now, I should preface that, actually, I should saying that I am not sensitive on my skin, so maybe not everyone would feel like, I mean, it's soft, but it could be a little more prickly because Cushendale uses a lot of Irish wool, and so like their 100% wool yarns are often made with the Galway breed, which is definitely rustic, and so it is a rustic yarn. So it is something you should feel for yourself. And so like this boucle, even though I believe it does have some mohair in it, it's only 30%. Feel it for yourself. Anyways, so they have a shop. The mill is located in Graignamanagh in County Kilkenny here in Ireland. There has been a mill in that area since the monks in the 1200s. This family, and then there was a gap for a while, and this family has been running this mill for a few generations now, and they have some beautiful old machines in there. So Cushendale sells their yarns online, but if you are not a big rustic yarn person and you're not sure, maybe just order one and test it out first. But it's a really special woolen mill. Great wool. That rustic wool is really great for actually keeping you warm. So I have just one more to show you. And it's a very colorful one. And I've just finished it last night. So I had been weaving ends in as I went, but sort of the last few stripes I didn't. And it's not washed and blocked, so it's going to get bigger. But I'm thinking about, I'm going to stitch it up again at the back. And this is a yarn that I got, Tom bought it for me from a dyer over in the UK in 2020 before, you know, Brexit made it very awkward. before Brexit came into force and made it very awkward. And I'll put her name here. But again, she did some advents that if you got them unwrapped, they were cheaper. And he bought that for me as a gift, and he put them in little bags. So that's great. And it's a beautiful rainbow. So most of them are, I took from the green to the purples. There are a few other little skeins in here of just random minis. So we'll go from the different greens. So it's sort of greeny yellow. And we keep on going into the blues and into the purples and kind of grays. So it's, as you can see, it's quite large. And once I wash it and block it, it'll be large again. It worked out to just under 1,200 meters or so. So not quite as large as my neon shawl, but yeah, I'm really excited. So that's what I just finished. And I'm going to start a crochet project, but I'll show you that next time. Wanted to stick this in here. If you'll be in Ireland this August from the 15th to the 19th, it's Heritage Week. And Irish Fibre Crafters has a few things going on. I'll put more information in links in the description box. There's a lot of free things, so do check it out. Okay, so yes, I think that I've shown you most of the things that I need to show you. And I hope you've enjoyed. You see the little bumblebee? There's so many bumblebees. And then behind me is majorum. So that's a wonderful herb just to use as a herb. But you also can dye with it. And there are a lot of bees around it. But they're like the smaller bumblebees, the bigger bumblebees. There's tiny little bumblebee here. And then, of course, we have dahlias. And the bumblebees, there's another dahlia, I love them. And we have a lot of calendula. That's finishing, and I'm going to cut it back. But Sandra, we had so many blue lupines, they're over that way this year. And Sandra has dyed some lovely, beautiful yarn, blues and sort of blue greens with them. I'm so excited. So maybe I'll show you some of that another time. But yeah, so that is it for the knitting content. So now I'm just going to give you a little life update for those of you that are interested in that sort of thing. And if you're not, I would love to see you again. So if you did enjoy, please do subscribe, and that way you can watch again. But take care, and I hope you're having a good summer or a good winter if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Okay, so for those of you that want to hear a little life update, here we go. So we have done a lot of projects around the cottage this summer. And I say we, but a lot of it was Tom. So I will probably make the slow life video separate from this, and I will take you on a little tour. We have built, Tom has built beautiful big beds alongside the barn, raised beds, and one along the house where we're starting to grow some pears. I'm gonna train it along there. The ones along the barn are just full of sunflowers and dahlias and different things, because I want to get cordon fruit, and maybe this autumn, might be next year. So we've done that. We've done a few other things as well, which I'll talk about in the walk around. The vegetable garden, as always, or the past 3 years, has been amazing. We have been so lucky, to have the privilege to live here and to be able to, grow all these vegetables. I mean, we've basically supplied ourselves with vegetables for the past 3 years, and this year is no exception. And there's just everything. So I'll do a little harvest video. So all these things are going wonderfully. Oh, so also another project is Tom is building a little sunroom on the side of the cottage, and it's going to double up as a few different things, like a growing space and all. And it's basically going to be hardly any cost in it. The only thing that we're going to really have to buy is just a little bit of wood and the roof, which we're just buying a tin roof like we have on the barn and on the carport, because our friend Sandra had got new windows in her cottage, and they had beautiful, they're yellow painted oak windows, but they're only single glazed. So she gave us all her own windows that were able to come out successfully, and then we had our old windows from the cottage. They're just PVC. So there we have those as well. So we're going to build, Tom is building that. So we'll show you that work in progress. So that's really exciting. So yeah, hopefully going to have our lemons in there and yeah, different things. So that's going to be really exciting. Yeah. And then another big thing is that we went ahead, because you may know, if you, especially if you're living in Europe, you know that the cost of living, well, it has a lot of places, but it's gone up a lot here, especially if you're talking about heat. Now, we don't heat with fossil fuels. We only heat with wood, and then we have two infrared electric heaters that use radiant heat off electricity. And our electricity supplier is 100% renewable, and we have an electric car. But it does mean that we use a lot of electricity. And the electricity costs have, in this past year, have gone up by 50% in Ireland, not just from our supplier. And they are going to go up more. So ever since we bought the cottage, which was about 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, we wanted to put in solar panels. And we decided now is the time to do that, because our electric bill was so big. And it's only going to get worse. And we've always wanted to do it. So we bit the bullet and taken a big chunk out of savings. And there will be electric solar panels coming. So we're getting 8 panels. So it should do a lot of our electricity during the summer. Winter is a different story. We haven't bought a battery yet because they are so expensive at the minute, but in a couple of years they should hopefully come down. So yeah, so they hopefully that will come, that those will all come, and they'll be put up. I think it might be October or so. It's about 12 or 14 weeks lead time, I can't remember. So that was a big decision, but we're really excited about it, and it's just, you know, better for the environment. And also the way things are going, they're talking about the power supply could be intermittent sometimes, maybe not for households, but who knows. So this way at least we'll have some. So thrilled to bits about that. So that's a big thing. Then personally for me, yeah, so I had a bit of a journey with my health. I had some medical procedures. Things turned out okay, but I just kept having very bad fibromyalgia flares, as well as like my spine stuff, and I was just having a lot of pain. And then I couldn't knit. I couldn't knit for quite some time, and I found I just, like, maybe I could knit a row, and then there would be days and days and days where I couldn't knit at all. And then if I did knit, I couldn't purl at all. Anyway, and so I became very depressed. It's a real thing that, you know, knitting helps you physically and mentally. Well, I shouldn't say I didn't become very depressed. Like, I have been depressed before, but I was depressed, and I recognized that, and I was doing all the things to help come out of that. But there also wasn't as much sun as I need. So that was a factor, and I was just in a lot of pain with fibromyalgia, and also, you know, with the osteoarthritis and different things. So I went to my doctor. One of the things I normally do that helped me out of that, when that cycle just was extending and extending. And so we found a medication, because I hadn't been on a medication, and that will help a lot of these things. And we've tried that, and I'm actually on the lowest dose of it, and it's really made a big difference. So as you can see, I've been able to knit again. The garter stitch, there's a little bit of purling in the top. I'm making the solo yodo top, but it's I can do it now. So yeah, really thrilled to be able to be back knitting. I wasn't watching podcasts because part of me just, I wasn't interested. I couldn't do it. But also I made a conscious decision, because like I mentioned, I'm not buying any more yarns, and I'm not buying any more patterns. And watching podcasts, I would get excited about stuff. Like just today I thought maybe I will buy Jude from Stranded Dye Works. he usually makes a Christmas colorway, I think. And I was thinking, oh, let me see. So I looked at his Instagram feed and I saw, oh, the Glasgow School of Yarn Festival or something like that in Glasgow. Now, I lived in Glasgow for a wee while in the late 90s. I love Glasgow, and some of my family is from Glasgow. And I saw that and I was like, oh, I haven't been to Glasgow for a while. So, like, immediately I was kind of going, oh, and then I was like, carried away and thinking maybe I could go. And oh, God, I would love that. And I would love for Tom to go and see Glasgow. And oh, my goodness, and, be so wonderful. And then I was like, what am I doing? We're getting this solar panel. I don't, that's not, I can't be going on a little trip like that. So maybe 2023. But that's just an example. And I'm sure most of you can relate to that. Like, one reason I wound up with so much yarn and most of it indie dyed is because I would see, especially a small or a newer indie dyer, having something or a pattern, and I'd really want to support them. Obviously, I would love the colors of the yarn, like the idea of the pattern, but I would support them and I would get, more than I needed, because I would much rather work on nearly a project to project basis. So I kind of have sort of 3 shelves of yarn, and I would really like to just have 1 shelf of yarn. Yeah, so including leftover scraps. So anyway, so that's why I stopped watching podcasts, but I've just started again and I'm just restraining myself. So that is just a little life stuff, but I'm feeling much better now physically and mentally, and I knew I would if I, just kept at it and found things that worked. And, I may go back down again, but then I'll go up again, and that's fine. And even when I wasn't able to knit, like, there are things to enjoy. It just didn't come so easily, the enjoyment, but I did focus on that, and I found and I'm just saying that because I'm hoping that helps someone. There are always the little things, and just hang on and ask for help and know when you need to ask for help. That's kind of a challenge to say. If you kind of, especially if you cycle in and out of things, you kind of learn where you're kind of like, now I the things I do that usually work aren't working, so now I need to take a step up. Anyway, I'm hoping I'm speaking loud enough. So thank you for sticking with me. If you're here this long, watching all the things, take care. And so talk to you soon. See that bumblebee? Take care. With love from Wild Cottage.